Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brass, and today I'll be going over religion and its relation to morality. Now I have argued for a moral secular framework which may not be objective but rather is something to be maintained. The dualism of practical reasons comes into play as it shows how on one hand it's rational to act morally, but on the other hand it is rational to pursue one's long-term interest. The problem with this, as many philosophers have noted, is that these two kinds of reasons will at times give opposite instructions. Some more theistic philosophers have defined virtue as defining it as good things for others in accordance to the will of God, and eternal happiness in the afterlife, which solves the rule, motive, and virtue problem. However, as I argued, nothing has the status to show objective and prescriptive morality. Morality's rationale is that men needed certain rules and principles for cooperation, and evolution along with social conditioning to it give people reason to think it is required. Prudence's rationale is that man recognizes he's more likely to flourish if he has care for another's welfare. It's selfish desires. The problem for divine command theorists is that unless they have reliable and explicit revelation of commands, they would be in no better position than a secular moralist whom use the empirical data as well. A secular moralist, I do believe though, has problems of their own, as secular morality doesn't have a plausible account that connects to morality. Things like Kantian categorical imperatives, as such as to not treat people as means, is without grounding. Sociobiological evolution offers a description that fits the bill and is thus makes objective morality unneeded. Often the Euthyphro dilemma is brought up. This says, does God love what is good, or does he command what is right because it is good, or right, or is it good or right because he loves or commands it? The problem with the dilemma is that it assumes that moral qualities come in one piece, like they have to be assigned to one another as either independent or wholly constituted by God's will, which is unjustified. It might be the case that there is one kind of life best for human beings that will help them reach full satisfaction. Certain rules and conduct from this would be what is required to maintain this, and this would be hard facts independent of the command of God, but would be the product of the will of God. God, making men as they are, would give them proper dispositions and require men to live in this appropriate way. This would be hard facts, and while the moral facts would not be completely accessible to direct investigation, they wouldn't need to, as God would know this and has revealed explicit instructions to them, in which case they can look back on these to infer it indirectly so to lead a satisfying life. Overall, the descriptive component of a moral distinctions is logically independent of God's will, as God approves of this way of life, because in the purely descriptive sense appropriate for man, and the descriptive component of the distinctions is constituted by God's will. Under this, God only commands that his creatures should live in a way most satisfying to them. People, for the most part, accept that laws are made by legislators, judges, and by tradition. They are, as I believe, a man-made concept. There is, however, a view of natural law, aka that some moral principles are valid without having to be made, and they are valid at always and everywhere. I view natural law as a useful fiction in which it provides barriers in governmental policies. I believe subjectively we come to such conclusions based on the flourishing of human beings, and politics also applies to that. We only have a framework of ideas to work with, and open ways can be created to offering preferences a chance to be realized. Well, that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.